Welcome, friends. PaladinMcSkoob here at your fucking service. Now, word on the street is that you got a FoH Smiter and you want to eat some Uber ass, but don't know where to start. Let me tell you something, champ. You came to the right place. Now, this guide won't be perfect, but it's what I do to come out of it in one piece. Like, subscribe, and all that crap, yada yada yada. You can catch me live on Twitch most nights, Pacific Standard Time. Let's hang out. I'll rub your feet. It'll be nice. Anyway, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. There are 4 phases to what I like to call Operation Freedom 69. Phase 1, the gathering of the keys. 9 keys to enter their realm. 9 keys to find them. 9 keys to take their organs in the Resurrected cube. Find them. I don't know, I like that. Phase 2, prep. We got to make sure that you're suited and booted to get the job done. We'll go over the gear that you need to strike down your foes and rip the organs/torches out of their asses. Phase 3, Izzy, Duriel, and Lily. The 3 organ donors that will open the gate to Uber Tristram, and only one of them you should really worry about. Spoiler alert, her tits are huge. Phase 4, there's a party in Uber Tristram, and no one invited you. But you're going anyway because you have a need to kick gum and chew ass, and you're all out of gum. This video will be broken down to chapters, so you can go ahead and check out what interests you the most. May it serve you well. Cheers. Okay, the first key on the list is the Key of Terror, I think it's called, and it's found in the Forgotten Tower in the Black Marsh. Where the tower is, fuck if I know. It's random, right? As far as I could tell. I know for the most part, a good portion of people won't have Enigma to move this fast. But I guess, generally for the purposes of this video, I want to keep things moving, right? So one thing that really does help is having a teleport staff. It'll help you move a bit quicker. But I would just, take my time, kill the ghosties along the way. The boss packs, because you might end up getting something really nice from them. You're gonna be in for a grind anyway, so you might as well, right? Yeah. Hug the left wall from the entrance. That being, you see how the entrance is right here. This is the left wall, and we hug this, and it should take us to the next level every single time. From what I understand, there is a 1 in 12 chance that Countess will drop a key. This goes for, each key holder. So get ready to spend some time doing this. Second key on the list is held by the Summoner, and he's located in Arcane Sanctuary, Act 2. You're going to have 4 different directions to go. I don't think there's a telltale way of finding out which direction the Summoner is, so it's completely random. But one of the cool things about the Arcane Sanctuary that it's very Fist of the Heavens friendly, right? So the first couple runs while you're still fresh and not annoyed by doing multiple runs is you can go around, kill the mobs here, particularly the boss mobs and the ghosties, because from what I understand is that they have a limited loot table, and you have a pretty good chance of getting a high rune or something. So you never know. Telestaff is huge, right? Because as I said, if you get annoyed, right, you start teleporting past stuff. You can start teleporting to other sides of the walkway. It helps a lot. Oh, look at that. First try, we got him. Now, generally, if you didn't find him here, right, you want to open a portal. Oh, he dropped the unique too. You want to open a portal, go back to the center, and do it all over again so you don't, waste your charges, because I know it could get pretty expensive. But other than that, yeah, you just want to keep grinding him until you get a key, right? And you want to aim for 3 of them. All right, for the third and final key, which is the Key of Destruction, it's held by Nihlathak in Act 5. Here in the Halls of Pain, right? On the 3rd level. One thing about him, right, because he's pretty scary because of his corpse explosion. That could, if you watched recently, DarkHumility actually lost his level 97 Sorc well, to a bug, right? But even then, like, the explosion is pretty nasty. I generally do not like taking a merc with me, because, like, let's just say if you have a nature's peace, right, or a lawbringer that has slain monsters, rest in peace, then you don't have to worry about it. But, right, assuming that you're using the Act 2 merc, they don't have that modifier, so they might end up killing stuff, and then that'll get you popped. So what I like to do is I'll go over to Trav, right, and sacrifice Vicky out here. The gods, let the council members have their way with him, and then he's out of my life for just a little bit, right? Because I usually don't like rolling with him when I go down there. Now you have a nature's peace or lawbringer, that's huge, right? You don't have to worry about much, but Halls of Pain is pretty nasty. You want to be very careful. The cool thing is that there's only 3 possible layouts, I think, to find the 3rd level, and you could tell right away from the waypoint, right? I'll drop a link in the description below that will show you that. But once you start running it enough, you'll know it like the back of your hand. Like right here, I already know it's the bottom left, right? Boom, it's right there. Now to find where Nihlathak is, and again, you'll see it in the link. They explain it pretty well. I generally try to look for a set of eyes in this inner sanctum, right? So if he was up here, then you would see a pair of eyes here, and then you would see these pair of eyes. On this side right here, you see there's a pair of eyes here, there's a pair of eyes here. So that tells me that he's actually in this direction. Check out the link, that way you could get a better explanation. But once you start running it, you'll know where to find him. You know where to find him. The only thing, though, as well, is that sometimes Halls of Pain is very, very... sometimes it could be very anti-Fist of Heavens, right? Like, these snakes are very fucking annoying. So generally, I switch over to, like, Smite, right? Or, since I have a, Grief, I could seal them if I wanted to, but Smite takes them down, no problem. Be careful with their poison, because sometimes you get this crazy-ass nuked version of their poison. Now, you see, right now we don't have a Nature's Peace on, but that's no problem. This is usually how I like to do it. And when I did this, I was walking and I wasn't teleporting. So generally, like, what I like to do with teleport is I teleport right on top of him and I smite him down and call it GG. But I know some people don't have Nature's Peace, or any of that slain monsters rest in peace modifier. So what I generally do is I pull them to one side, right, as much as I can. Just take your time here. You're in no rush, right? You want to come out of this alive, and then I go over to the other side. There should be an opening, and then I smite him down. One thing to keep in mind, you see this dude right here? One thing that I've noticed is that if he blows up, if you don't kill him, like, let's say if you had Nature's Peace or something, then he could still corpse explode that dude. I don't know why that works, right? Because he just blown up, but it does. And I've been corpse exploded several times already. Watch out for that. But yeah, this is probably going to be the hardest key run for you. Take it slow. It is a very nasty area. You don't need Nature's Peace to get it done. You just need a little bit of patience. And yeah, good luck. The keys have been gathered and phase 1 is complete. Now it's time to move on to phase 2, which is, the prep and the gear. Generally, along your journey, you should be picking up a lot of full rejuves, right? As many as you can. You could never have too many of them. I don't use a lot, right? Because I've done a lot of Uber runs already and I've gone through my stash. But keep that in mind, that's like number 1 on the list. Now, as far as gear goes, as you're doing your key farming, there will be times where you might get some of this gear to drop. This is a point where if you still haven't found anything, I would probably target, act bosses, trading, if that's available to you, and whatnot. But the gear that you saw me using when farming keys, that's like my general P1, like farming type of stuff that I use. It's nothing, it's not what I use for for Uber Tristram. But in case anybody is curious, I'm using a Harlequin Crest Shaco with an rune in it, a Wizzy Spike, Mage Fists, Raven Frost, Arachnid's Mesh, Dwarf Star, some random ass boots that have Magic Find on them, Spirit, and a Mara's Kaleidoscope. On Switch, I'm using a Grief and a Haas, right? So now we're going to go over the gear that I like to use, or that I have used as well in my time in Uber Tristram, and this kind of stuff that you want to be looking for. Generally, you want to be stacking resistances, right? Crushing Blow, and a Source of Life tap. I think if you at least have 2 sources of Crushing Blow, you should be good. But you want to have a weapon, right? A pair of boots, and then the coveted G-Face, which you probably hear a lot about of. So we'll go over that now. We're going to get this dude geared up and ready for Uber Tristram. So first thing that I do is I start with the helmet, right? Is the G-Face. Generally, I did have a hard time finding this. It took a while. But again, Uber Tristram is at the end of the list, right? You want to be working up towards it, especially if you want to do it yourself. It's even harder solo self-found. Assuming that you're doing it offline, it might be a little bit easier because you can manipulate player counts and, you know, have a better time with more drops. But more often than not, it is pretty tough to find this stuff. I'm not gonna lie, but with a group, it's so much better. So if you're on BattleNet, I encourage you to trade. I'm not a big fan of the whole forum gold stuff, but I won't get into that. If that, you know, is something that you do, then more power to you. Okay, so we're gonna start with the helmet, right? G-Face, obviously, I have it socketed with an rune. Some people like to put a cham in there for the cannot be frozen, so they could open up a ring slot, right? But this works just as fine. If you don't have a G-Face, right, the biggest thing that you get out of this is the Crushing Blow. To be honest, you could just use like a Rock Stopper, which has resistances on it. As long as you could cover Crushing Blow with your weapon and boots, then, you know, G-Face is not entirely necessary, but, you know, it's pretty much meta, right? Okay, now moving on to the weapon. Nowadays, I'm using Grief, but you got a few options. Starting at the very bottom, you have a black, right? Made in a flail. It's cheap, it's easy to make, and right, it's perfect. It serves you well. It's got 40% chance of Crushing Blow, right? It gives you a little bit of vitality and a little bit increased attack speed and enhanced damage. Now it could be wrong, but enhanced damage does apply to Smite if it's on your, you know, on your offhand or whatever. So that's always a big plus. You know, some people like to make it in a Scourge, right? So you could get like a higher base damage, where you see the one-handed damage marker there. To me, it really doesn't matter. You'll notice the difference when you get to the very bottom of the Uber boss's health, right? Because then it just kind of takes forever. So black works just as well. There are 2 other like unique items that I think are pretty fucking awesome if you find them. The next one up is Flesh Ripper, right? 25% chance of Crushing Blow. I don't really see a lot of people running with this, but it's pretty sweet, right? And it's got a chance of open wounds. Because one of the biggest thing that Uber bosses have is regen, right? And you want to stop that in any way possible. But as a Fist of Heaven's Paladin, personally, I think this next item is probably the best that you could use, right? Or at least my favorite, and this is a Heaven's Light Mighty Scepter. You could have some pretty good luck of this dropping from Nightmare Baal, but I don't see it a lot. But if you could get this is pretty sick, right? Because you could go in there and get the +3 to Paladin skill levels. You get the enhanced damage, and it's got Crushing Blow on it, which is awesome. Usually it comes socketed, 1 being the least, 2 being the most, and I put 2 shells in there for the increased attack speed, right? That's really up to you, whatever you want to put in there, and more power to you. I like to put 2 shells and call it a day. Even if you get the 1 socket one, that thing still kicks ass. So we're gonna put that in our main hand here. Now, for gloves, right? You have a few options here. You could get Crushing Blow on them, right? You don't have to use any of these meta things. The biggest thing that you want on your gloves, in my opinion, is increased attack speed, right? The faster you can get like to those break points, the better. That way you're constantly smiting and keeping your life tap up. But let's go over some of the meta stuff, right? So one of the most common ones that you'll see is laying of hands. This one is pretty cool because obviously it gives you increased attack speed, but it also has fire res. The 350% damage to demons does not apply unless you're zealing, right? So that's kind of a bummer, but you'll see a lot of people using this. Another really cool pair of gloves that you can find fairly easily is a Venom Grip, right? This does not have increased attack speed, but it does have a 5% chance of crushing blow. So that's an option. The most sought after one, in my opinion, is Dracul's Grasp Vampire Bone Gloves. I've had pretty good luck of this dropping on Hell Diablo, just in the Chaos Sanctuary level. I know drops aren't really tied to any particular area, but that's, you know, that's generally where I find it. Biggest thing, right, is the chance of open wounds, but it's the chance to cast a life tap on striking. This is huge. Life tap is key to your survival. Now, initially, I get life tap from somewhere else, but we'll go over that in a bit. So we'll put this as our like best slot right now. As far as rings go, I wouldn't really change much. Ravenfrost is pretty awesome. You need some kind of cannot be frozen, whether it's that Cham and the G-Face, right, or this Ravenfrost ring. I think there is other options too, but Ravenfrost is pretty, I wouldn't say easy to find, but pretty common. I would try to get this, and plus the 20 to dexterity and mana is pretty fucking awesome. So Ravenfrost is going to stay there. The belt. There is some swapping going on when it comes to the belt, but we'll go into that in a bit. When I first started doing this, I was using String of Ears, and that's all you need. String of Ears works wonderfully. But if you're lucky, right, and you get a Verdungos to drop, Verdungos, whatever you like to call it, that's even better. Because you get 30 to vitality, and then damage reduction by 12%. Fucking sweet. Sweet. Right? So, String of Ears, or Verdungos, that works just as fine. For the next ring over, you could use a Dwarf Star, which is pretty awesome because it's got magic damage reduction. Or you could use any kind of quad res ring, right? Sometimes I like to rock, a Wisp Projector, right? But I'll get into this in a bit. Or a Nature's Piece, because I think a Nature's Piece, right, has damage reduction, if I'm not mistaken. I think I had it around here somewhere. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, damage reduced by 11. And it's got poison resist, right, and prevent monster heal. The poison resist is pretty huge against Lilith, in my opinion. So sometimes I'll put that on. But lately, you know, for the sake of this video, I think I'll keep Ravenfrost and Dwarf Star. Next up is the boots, right? So boots, you definitely want Crushing Blow, right? Whether it be War Riders or Goblin Toes. I think if you're not going to be using a weapon that has Crushing Blow in it, then you probably want Goblin Toes because it gives you more, right? This is the first pair of boots that I used. I personally like War Riders better, only really for the faster run walk, right? Goblin Toes just makes me feel really, really slow. So we'll put War Riders on. As far as the chest piece, I wouldn't use Enigma. I use a good old trusty Smoke. Find yourself a base that already has, you know, high defense. And in my case, it was a Scarab Husk. This thing works perfect. You know, it's got an ED, it's got freaking res. It's the bread and butter, honestly. This is like the unsung hero. It's super cheap to make, and it works wonderfully. Amulet, right? Any res amulet would work, right? Primarily, you just want to keep stacking as much res as you can. I generally aim for like 250% all res, right? I'm at like 238, 234. The one that you really want to worry about is lightning, in my opinion, because, you know, we've all heard horror stories about Mephisto The pretty meta thing is High Lords, right? It's around here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. No, Mahim Oak. It's interesting. Yeah, generally you wouldn't want to go with the High Lords. That's usually pretty awesome. But, you know, you don't need it. It's right here. You see, you don't need it. It's awesome because it's got Deadly Strike and the Lightning Resist. Pretty, as I said, pretty fucking meta. We'll slap that on. But again, you could use anything from like an amulet that has quad res. Particularly, you want to focus lightning, right? And that will work just as fine. Moving on to the shield. Now, when I first did Ubers, right? I know this, you see a Haas here, but this is, you don't need it. In my opinion, you only really need a 4-socketed Paladin shield that has a already high base resistance, like, I don't know, like 30 plus, right? 30, 35, I think 45 is max. And you put 4 P diamonds in that bad boy and you're set, dude. That is the perfect shield. If you're lucky enough to get a Haas to drop, why not, right? It gives you more smite damage from what I understand. +2 to skills. I think it's, yeah, +4 in total, right? Because you get +2 to combat skills, +2 to paladin. And it gives you vitality and all that shit. But you do take a hit in the resistances, so that's why I put an in here. I had a P diamond before, but I swapped it out for an that's what I do. You could even put your Cham in here if you didn't want to put it in the G face, right? That works too. Haas is also pretty meta from what I understand, but again, you don't need this, dude. You could just use a 4-socket P diamond shield, and I'm more than happy to show you guys to probably use like I guess you could say a more budget friendly gear. If you guys want to see a video of me taking on Uber Tristram with like budget gear, I usually don't like that term because it's pretty subjective, right? Like some items that were easy to find for me are pretty difficult for others, and then stuff that was easy to find for others was difficult for me. But generally, right, like all this is just fluff, dude. It's all fluff. Drax is fluff. Oz is fluff. You don't need it, but that's what we're gonna use because that's what I have right now. Okay, I think we have pretty much everything covered. So just to recap, right, we got the G face, the Heaven's Light, the Drax, the Ravenfrost, the Dwarf Star, the Verdungos, right, the Smoke, the Haas, and the Gore Riders. Now on the Switch. On the Switch, I would just run Life Tap, right? That's all I would use is a Life Tap wand. The higher the level, the longer the duration is, right? And the bigger the area effect is. So I think level 6 is max. I'm not too sure, but try to get yourself a Life Tap wand. You can find it at any vendor. I usually go to the Act 2 vendor, right? Because sometimes you could spawn the outside area right next to him, so you can walk in and out to find it. Get yourself a Life Tap wand. That is huge. Okay, so that's that. As you can see here, I got a torch and an Annie. You don't need any of this stuff. This is stuff that, you know, you get over time. As far as charms go, you want to look at your resistances and see where you're at. If you're still like under the 200 mark or whatever, I would get some res charms and life charms, right? As you can see here, I don't really care much about it because I have an Annie and a torch. I got a freaking Keeds in here, but you want to fill this up with life charms, as many as you can, right? You want to get to at least, I don't know, 1600 health. But yeah, try to get as close to 2000 as possible. So that means you have to respec at some point after you get the gear, right? And that's something else to remember too, is that once you get the gear, right, that you know you want to use for Ubers, put that shit on and then respec accordingly so you can get as much health as possible and still get max block. So yeah, stack as many life charms as you can, and then adjust your resistances as you see fit. But if you got that 4P diamond shield, you're fucking gravy, right? I slap on a spirit, right? Because it's like my extra shield. If you have another high res shield, I'd put that on too, because if you don't have the luxury of Drax and you have to swap mid-fight to cast life tap again, then you want to keep your resistances up, right? Especially because I don't think you could put life tap on your left click, which means that if you're fighting Mephisto, your life tap ends, right? You have to swap and hit him, your salvation will come off, right? So that's generally what you need. Now, if you're playing on Battle.net and you have a Barb, right, as a friend, I highly recommend you get yourself a Barb to, battle orders you, because the bump in health is what really, makes you feel confident, right? You're not in a rush, I would say, in my opinion. You shouldn't be in a rush to do Ubers. So over time, you could even get lucky and get yourself a call to arms, right? So we're going to be taking this with us. We're going to put our life tap one here, and this will act as a barbarian for us, right? To BO us. Again, not completely necessary. If you got huge fucking balls and you want to, go in there gung-ho like I did on the first day, then you don't need this, right? You just get that life tap on, get your confidence up, and boom, you go at it. If you guys are also interested in seeing something like that, let me know in the comments below. I'm more than happy to show you to kind of like, do it, I guess, bare bones Uber run. That way people can see that it can be done. But a CTA, if you're running solo, is fucking nice, right? Take the time to make this bad boy. It's a game changer. It really is. So we'll keep that on Switch, but we're going to be having that life tap. Now, people wonder, why do you have a life tap one when you have Drax? The thing is that even though some people say it's pretty consistent, I've had instances where it won't proc, right? So I'm right there panicking, swallowing my rejuves because I'm not getting life tap anymore, and I don't have a life tap one. So I start every encounter with an Uber boss with a life tap, right? And then I just hope to God that Drax starts proccing as I go along. Okay, so I still take a life tap with me no matter what. And yeah, so that's the gear right there. Now, as far as the stats go and skill tree allocation, we'll go over that too. So you can see here I have 169 health, 183 dexterity, 426 vitality, 6, a little, 6 too much. We should hit 420, whatever. And this is all influenced obviously by the Hellfire Torch, the Annie, and the Haas, right? And Heaven's Fist damage is 1355 to 1405. Now here is the skill tree. This is not min. You could probably already tell. None of this is min max, right? Like this is something that I put together, kind of based upon like I think Llama had a guide on a FoH Smiter, which I'll link that in the description if you guys want to look at it. And for my buddy Mo, he helped me get this ball rolling back when the PCR dropped, so I could test out the build, and it's a lot of fun. So we'll start with the combat skills, right? Put the point into like the necessary stuff to build up to Fist of Heavens, right? I maxed out Fist of Heavens, I maxed out Holy Bolt, and then I maxed out Holy Shield, right? Primarily for the extra defense and the smite damage. That's fucking awesome. Now, when we go to the offensive auras, you're gonna notice that Conviction is maxed out. In my opinion, this is not necessary. I generally have this because sometimes I play with my buddies and Conviction just rocks, right? You could actually completely ignore Conviction and put that into, Smite if you wanted to. I also don't have any points into the Holy Shock skill, right? Because this is a synergy to Fist of Heavens, but you only get lightning damage from it, and I don't really give a shit about the lightning damage. The real damage comes from the holy bolts that spread out, right, when you strike the floor. So I didn't even bother with this. And so yeah, I maxed out Conviction, and then the rest of my points I put into Fanaticism. Generally speaking, you only really need 1 point in Smite, 1 point in Fanaticism, but I like the increased attack speed and the damage. So I put the remaining points that I have, I'm putting it into fanaticism. I put 2 points into salvation. You only really need 1. 2 just felt right to me, and I put a point into cleansing because, as you know, in Matron's Den, it's cursed town. So this helps me avoid going back to town and cleansing off, right? And again, so you don't have to have conviction. You could spread it out to smite. You could put it into resist lightning, right, to get some buffs from that. That's up to you, but this is the way I have my skill tree allocated. So now we can move on to phase 3, where we're going to go party with the mini Ubers and gather the organs. One thing that I forgot to talk about in the phase 2 section is a treachery, right? This thing is pretty cool. You could put it at any 3-socket base, Shell, Thul, Lem. I don't really use it when fighting the mini Ubers. Some people like to. I don't. I only really use it when we go into Uber Tristram. The base doesn't really matter. What you really care about is the fade proc, right? 5% chance to cast a level 15 fade when struck. That ups your resistances, and it also gives you some damage reduction too. So another thing to keep an eye out for. But again, if you just want to gather the organs first before you go into Uber Tristram, you do not have to have this, in my opinion. Okay, so we're suited and booted. We're ready to get rolling. We're going to go ahead and start opening the gates. Now, generally, you want to open gates in one session. You want to create a game with a password in case things go RE, right? You want to create a game with a password in case you need to like back out, and then you could jump back in, you know, in case things get hairy. Because if you only open one gate at a time in different sessions, it doesn't guarantee that it'll just open the next portal that you need, right? So you may end up like opening one gate in this instance, make a new one, right? And you just did Matron's Den, you open another in the second instance, and then you'll get Matron's Den again. So opening all 3 in the same instance guarantees that you'll get all 3 portals. All right, so you get yourself a key of terror, key of hate, and a key of destruction. And you want to pick a spot that doesn't really interfere with anywhere that you need to interact with, right? You don't want to put a portal right in front of your stash. And also keep in mind that when you open portals, you want to open in separate areas because you could accidentally stack them and then you won't be able to go inside, right? So just pick a spot, open them, and then you'll see which one you get. So this is the Furnace of Pain. This is Izzy, right? Let's get the other 3. Oop. I usually tend to open it like over here. Matron's Den. This is where Lily is at. And for the final one, Forgotten Sands with Duriel. Now, you can tackle these in any way you want. Generally, I would probably advise, and probably the most meta thing that you see, right, is that you go Forgotten Sands first, then Furnace, and then we'll do the spiciest one last, right? So we want to make sure that we're ready for the fight here. You could just go in right away to the Forgotten Sands and do a CTA. You don't have to. We got our Heaven's Light, right? We got our gear and all that stuff. We're ready to go. So we're going to go in. We're going to do a switch. We have our CTA. With Duriel, I usually don't do CTA. I'll just get the life tap out. And we're set. So we go in. Duriel, right? If you're lucky, 9 out of 10 times you are, will be right here. Right? Just up above. Once you see him, you cast the life tap. And you get to smiting. Sometimes you'll be somewhere in buttfuck Egypt that you're going to have to run around and look for him. So we're going to find out if we got a lucky spot. And we didn't. So now we got to go roaming around and see if we can find them. Fanaticism, that's not good. I hate these things because a lot of times they're like... Oh, there he is. We want to go all the way over here because we do not want a fanaticism Duriel on our asses. Ow. Ow. And now we start working on them. Get the fanaticism up. And now that we have our life tap on, we're safe. But as you can see, he hits like a fucking truck. So, and you don't want to be fighting with mosquitoes, right? Because that adds to the damage a little bit. But as long as we don't have fanaticism mosquitoes, I think we'll be all right. And this is without, you know, CTA, so you could see how much damage he does without it. We get our organ, which is the eye, and then we make like a tree and we fuck off. Okay, so we got that taken care of. Let's refill on our rejuves here. Next up, we're gonna deal with Izzy, right? So this time we will slap on the CTA just to get a little HP buff and be a little bit safer. Didn't want to slap it on in the first fight just so you could see how, you know, how the damage is, basically. Get the CTA going. Beautiful. And then, yeah, now we'll look for Izzy. The cool thing is that this place has demons, so this is the Heaven's Rocks here. One thing that would probably help too is probably getting your merc, right? If he's got a insight, generally you could go in there with them. Just be prepared for him to die, especially once you start fighting the mini Ubers. They do some nasty damage. But when you're taking care of these trash mobs, it's not so bad. Take your time, kill things. You're in no rush, right? Some instances here where it benefits to have a telestaff, so you can just go into the other areas, no problem. But I don't mind the walk. So yeah, take your time, keep it safe, and you'll run into them eventually. There's Izzy. Sometimes you might have to go further in to find him, but if you see him and he sees you, he'll teleport to you. No problem. And yeah, there's the second organ. All right, only Lilith remains. We're gonna go get our merc. Because why not? Give Vikiat. Pay a college tuition to get him back. And now we're gonna take our asses into the Matron's Den. Now this one's a little bit spicy, right? Because everything and their mothers in there can curse you. The biggest piece of advice I would say is use doorways to your advantage, right? You want to find a choke point for most of them. So take it nice and slow. Let me get my CTA back on. Yeah. More often than not, you'll find Lilith in some end that kind of looks like, if you could see right here in the mini map, you'll see a room similar to this. That's usually where she hangs out, and you'll know where she's at because usually like the resistance gets pretty bad, right? The resistance gets pretty bad, and on top of that, you'll notice that even before you go into the room, you'll see like a bluish hue, like a bluish light. And that's how you know you found her. So we're gonna take it nice and slow here, and try to get out of this in one piece. So you can see we already found her. So we don't want to be fighting we don't want to be fighting her with those whatchamacallit, succubi, right? Because they could curse the fuck out of us. So we want to get our life tap ready. Get one final bone. We got to be ready to fight her already. So maybe we could hit them from over here. Okay, so we aggroed her already. The best thing that we can do is try to pull her out this way. See how he already got cursed? He's dead. And we want to pull her out this way. There she is. Live tapped her. So now we just gotta... We want to move away because we don't want to get cursed over here. There we go. We might end up getting cursed. We just got to keep our fingers over the rejuve. But she's the biggest hurdle. Once you take her out, it's flying fucking biscuits from here. The next one up would be Mephisto. We got the final organ. Now let's get our asses back to the entrance because, like an idiot, I forgot my TP scrolls. And boom. That is Lilith. Now, take this time to recompose yourself. Go to the restroom, go throw up, and go cry in a corner because we're about to go into Uber Tristram. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, in all her glory, the hole that leads to Uber Tristram. Now we're going to do a few things before we go in there, right? Generally, if you have a barbarian that's bowing you, I think it'd probably be in your best interest to open this portal, go inside to spawn the Ubers, right? And then come out and then have your buddy join the game. But I've never encountered much of a problem doing P1, P2, or even P3 Ubers. It's all the same when it comes down to crushing blow, right? Because that's the real winner here. So we got our portal. Now we're going to do some prep before we go inside. Something that I forgot to mention in the phase 2 portion of the video is lightning absorb, which I wouldn't say absolutely necessary because I think even if you have big resistances, right, then you should be fine. I've seen Smiters take on Uber Mephisto without a T-Gods. They just had a res belt. But it does certainly help. So T-Gods, right, that's usually the bread and butter. It's what you'll see in a lot of Smiters they'll put on. The 20 to Vitality helps a lot too, but the main thing that you want is 20 to Lightning Absorb. If you don't have a T-Gods, right, then you would want a Wisp Projector Ring. This also has Lightning Absorb at 17%, which is pretty awesome. A third option, but you will lose out on a source of crushing blow, is having a lightsaber. You could put on a lightsaber when you take on Mephisto and get a lightning absorb from that, right? And then switch back to your Heaven's Light, kill Mephisto, come back out, get your Heaven's Light, and then go back in and finish everybody off. There is something else that I have yet to test, and if there's anybody who's a FoH paladin or that uses Conviction Aura can confirm, but from what I've heard is that if you have a higher level Conviction Aura than Mephisto, then the game cancels his out and takes your aura, right? So then it'll be like fighting Mephisto without his Conviction Aura. I haven't tested it. I don't plan on testing it today, right? I just want to do what I'm used to. But one of these days, I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. I may even post it in the comments below to see if it worked out. But if there's anybody else who has experience with it, please put it in the comments below. Let us know, right? So until then, we're going to do the tried and true method. All right, we're going to put on our T-Gods. We're going to get a Treachery, right? We're going to put this on, but we're not going to be wearing it when we go into the fight. Mind you, I have forgotten about it and just went in there with it, so it ain't a big deal if you forget to do that. Just letting you know you want to definitely use this first and then switch back to your smoke. All right, so you could either go out here, out the gate. There's a fire out there that you can stand on. I usually like to go to the River of Flame, right? And go over to the River of Flame. I got to make sure that I have my smoke here. Perfect. And I go stand in this fire. Sometimes it'll proc right away. Other times it'll take forever. We'll see what happens here. But generally, I look at the resistances, right? Because they'll turn all white and they'll go up. And then your buddy here will kind of become see-through. But sometimes, you know, you won't be able to see it if you're like in front of this pillar. So just hang out, listen to a podcast, I don't know, rub one out. It's really up to you. And let it do its thing. There it is. Holy shit. It only took like a bajillion years. So we're going to take the treachery off. I usually just put it in there, right? Go back to town. Refill on any potions that you had to use. Get your potions, right? Now before you go in there, you want to get your salvation ready, which is on. You want to make sure that you're ready mentally. Now you can go into the gate. So one thing that's very important for your survival, and it's absolutely necessary for you to have, is a glass of milk. Cheers. Oh yeah. Now we could go ahead and bow. Get the life tap ready. Now, you're going to want to come over here. Watch carefully where I go. We're going to pull Mephisto first, right? So you want to come to about here. And that'll draw his attention. You want to bring him out to an open area. You don't want to get him stuck in the house. That could get very annoying. There we go. Life tap him, and you want to go in and start smiting and watch that damage go down like crazy. And here's another beautiful thing about having FoH, right? Is that once you kill him, then Fist of Heavens is pretty kick-ass for clearing the mobs. So we're gonna go ahead and clear the mobs here. You don't have to. Some people skip them. Ain't no big deal. That helps, right? Clean it up a little bit. Now we're gonna go to the other side, and ideally you want to pull Baal next, right? And I'm just gonna reapply both because you can never be too safe. I may have still had time, but whatever. Get the life tap up. So you want to come around this way. Everybody has a different method of doing. Either way, at the end, you want to commit to whoever you pull. I usually go to this far left area here. Right here. There he is. Once he sees you, then he sees you, right? And then you want to do this, life tap him, and get to work. One thing I would worry about, though, when you're doing Baal is that he does have that flamethrower, so it'll kill your mana. That's why usually I like to have some mana potions on me. Or he will summon these ghosties, and they like to take your mana too. Either way, you just smite him down, right? After he's dead, and you want to go over here to Diablo and then eat his ass. Beat him. Beat him right in the dick. No mercy, baby. No mercy. Now, cool thing is that these dudes right here around him, they have light tap on them as well. I probably wouldn't use FoH on them, and I would just use smite, right? He's dead. There's your charm. Do a little bit of cleanup around house to assert your dominance. Let them know, you know, that you killed their leader. It's fine. You go FoH too. I mean, it's really up to you how you want to do it, right? And there it is. Right? Standard heroes, fuck if I know. Maybe you get a, I don't know, 10% discount in at the Dairy Queen or something. I don't know, but we're gonna go pick it up right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and put my torch away because you could only have one at a time, right? And you usually want to put it in your shared stash. Go back in there, grab your torch, and pray to fucking God it's not a freaking druid torch, right? Don't forget my treachery here. That bad boy. Okay, and now we're gonna go ahead and ID and pray to God that it's decent. Now, more often than not, it probably won't be, but you can rest assured that you just slain your own Ubers and earn the fuck out of this torch. And the verdict is 11-11 Necromancer. Wah, wah, wah. But hey, a torch is a torch, right? If you're a Necromancer, then this could help you out. And at the very least, it's a bargaining chip. At least it's not a druid torch, am I right? So there you have it, folks. That was my guide to Uber Tristram as a Fist of the Heavens Paladin. As you can see, it wasn't clean, right? It was quite sloppy, to be honest, but it just goes to show that if an idiot like me could do it, then you can do it, right? If there's anybody who wants to add to this, any last minute tips that you'd like to put into, please put it down in the comments section below. I do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I really hope it helps, right? Because Uber Tristram is pretty fucking scary for a lot of people, but it's only because, you know, they haven't given it a shot. Once you do it enough times, it's really not that bad. But one thing is for certain, that it never stops being fun. So I highly encourage you to go on this journey, start gathering your gear, gather the keys, and get your ass to Uber Tristram so you can feel what it's like to get your own torch, right? If by any chance, right, you're on BattleNet and you would love me to like roll with you, I mean, you could find me live on Twitch, right? I'll put the link in the description below. I'm more than happy to go into Uber Tristram with you, and we could tag team this motherfucker until you get like some confidence. But yeah, I hope that you guys have an awesome day. Thank you again for taking the time to check out this video, and I will see you later. Cheers, my friend.